James Gunn and Peter Safran just announced a new DC lineup and their plans for the DCU going forward. But did the presentation give what it needed to give? And how many butter pumps is this new DCU gonna get? Let's find out.
My baby likes butter
This is it, butter babies. This is it. As a lifelong fan of all things DC, I gotta say, I haven't been this excited about anything live action DC since Batman vs. Superman, and honey, that is only because Wonder Woman was in it. As anyone who has followed the shenanigans over there at Warner Brothers Discovery knows, things have been a shit show for a good long while. Hell, James Gunn himself at the presentation said the history of DC is pretty messed up. It was fucked up. So if he can come out straight out the gate and say, as the co-chair of DC Studios, without hesitation, Warner's has shit the bed when it has come to their DC IPs, hey, you know what? At least we're starting out on an honest, level playing field. To that end, this video isn't going to do a deep dive into all the various ways DC has dropped the ball. There are 1,000,001 videos and channels literally dedicated to hating on DC 24/7. Well, this ain't one of those channels and this ain't one of them videos. We are learning from our mistakes, hopefully, and we are looking ahead. Starting with the 10, count them, 10 DCU titles that make up part of Chapter 1, which James Gunn is calling Gods and Monsters. First up, Superman Legacy, the only movie that has a date attached, which is July 11th, 2025. Mark your calendars. This film will mark the start of the DCU proper. Peter Safran said it focuses on Superman balancing his Kryptonian heritage with his human upbringing. He is the embodiment of truth, justice, and the American way. Pause. In the comics, they've actually changed that. They've changed the American way to, oh gosh, I don't remember exactly what it is, but they took the American part of it out and put something else in to be more, to make Superman more inclusive and more global. But here, Peter Safran is saying, we're putting the American way back into it. So I wonder how that's going to be reflected in the comic books, but we'll see. Anyway, Peter Safran goes on to say he is kindness in a world that thinks of kindness as old-fashioned. Gunn is writing the script, but no director has been attached just yet. Coming straight out of that will be The Authority, which is about a group of superheroes that have a less than idealistic approach to saving the world. They're very much an ends justifies the means kind of a superhero team, which interests me because of DC's, in general, no-kill rule. Yes, there are exceptions to that rule. Yes, Batman has killed before. We're not getting into that, but in general, DC does have a no-kill rule. So, does that mean that the Authority will kill, or won't they? They certainly did in the comics, and so it'll be interesting to see what happens in the new film. And it's interesting that that movie comes out right after Superman Legacy comes out, because it shows the dichotomy of, you've got this Superman character that, again, truth, justice, and the American way, baseball mom and apple pie, very wholesome, very old-fashioned to some people. And then you've got the new kids on the block, the Authority, who are very much the ends justify the means. And those two movies are coming out back to back to each other. So it'll be interesting to see how all of that works out. Next up, we have The Brave and the Bold, which will introduce the Bat family. Damian Wayne, to be specific. And I'm interested to see how they fold the rest of the Bat family into all of this, specifically the Robins, because there were 4 of them before Damian. So it's almost as if we're starting the story at the end of it rather than at the beginning of it. I mean, who's to say that there won't be another Robin after Damian? I mean, if the comics continue to go as they do, odds are Damian will be aged up. Hell, they did it with John Kent. And Damian will get sick of his father's shenanigans and create his own identity like the 4 Robins before him. Not only that, but they're calling it The Brave and the Bold, and I think that they need to change the name of that, because The Brave and the Bold is a team-up comic. And for most of its run, it was a team-up comic between Batman and other established DC superheroes. It wasn't specifically about the Bat family, it was about Batman and other DC characters. So maybe this is just a put a pin in it and let's come back to it kind of a title, but I think that they need to change the name of it. Moving on, we have Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. And honestly, I really hope they end up keeping Sasha Calle as Supergirl. She unfortunately found herself at the tail end of the DCEU, and as we've stated before, the DCEU is literally a cluster, but she shouldn't be punished for that. She's actually a really good actress, and I really hope they keep her on as the main DCU Supergirl. Next up is Swamp Thing. You know, I didn't really get to see the one and done DC Universe season that Swamp Thing had, but I heard it was really, really good. So let's hope this new iteration is just as good. Saffron said it was going to lean heavily into horror. Now, girl, we already know how I feel about horror, but it's really good to see DC trying to diversify its offerings. And quite honestly, I really do hope going forward that some of the DC properties lean heavily into R ratings, as some of them have in the past, like the Batman and Joker. I really do hope that when appropriate, these new movies will be as R-rated as needed. When appropriate. Not every movie needs to be R-rated, but then again, not every movie needs to be PG-13 either. Just saying. Speaking of diversification, that leads us right into television offerings, starting with Creature Commandos. This is an animated offering that will be on HBO Max, and it's already in production. The premise of the comic was Frankenstein's monster teaming up with a werewolf, a vampire, and a Gorgon to fight Nazis in World War II. There was a really, really good episode of Batman the Brave and the Bold that focused on the Creature Commandos, and it was really, really, really good. And the Creature Commandos have popped up, I want to say, in other animated offerings just as cameos or whatever, and the comic is really, really good. So I really hope that they bring all of that goodness into this new animated offering that they're giving. They're updating it by adding Weasel from Suicide Squad, as well as Rick Flag Sr., Rick Flag Jr.'s father. So apparently they're updating it to, if not present day, recent past. So I'm really excited about this because I've always loved the Creature Commandos. Season 2 of Peacemaker has been put on hold. Instead, Team Peacemaker will appear alongside Viola Davis as a continuation of that show called Waller. And look, anytime I can get more Viola Davis into my eyeballs, the happier I am. I mean, on period. She absolutely embodies the character of Amanda Waller for me. I live for her, so yes, 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 more Waller, please. Chugging right along, we have Lanterns. The show will focus on two of the well-known members of the Green Lantern Corps, Hal Jordan and John Stewart, which I'm very glad that they're doing. There was another show called Green Lanterns that was being produced by Greg Berlanti. It was an HBO Max show that has been shelved, and I'm very glad for that, because in that particular series they were going to focus on everybody but Hal Jordan and John Stewart, and I just thought that that was unnecessary and a really, really bad idea. You need either Hal Jordan or John Stewart. I'm biased, I prefer John Stewart, but hey, as long as we have either Hal Jordan or John Stewart, I'm going to be just fine. Anyway, this show, Lanterns, is focusing on a mystery that Safran said plays a really big role, leading us into the main story we're telling across our film and television. Like a true detective thing is what they said a couple of times. So I'm really excited about it. Finally, we have Paradise Lost, which is a Wonder Woman prequel based entirely on the island of Themyscira. Think Game of Thrones, only all women. And I cannot wait for this show. As a lot of you know, Wonder Woman is my favorite superhero, hands down, across every universe that there ever is and ever will be. I love her, but I also love the Amazons and their backstory. It's so rich and so full of stories that need to be uncovered and told. Finally, we have Booster Gold, which will be DC's foray into outright comedy. Now, I don't have much to say about Booster Gold. I actually like him, but you know, he's not my favorite, but I do enjoy him anytime he's on my screen, which is, up to this point has only been in animation and in a few episodes of Legends of Tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to this. You know, Booster Gold is Booster Gold. I can't wait. Out of everything that was said in the presentation, the one thing that stuck out to me is Gunn and Safran's commitment to not greenlight a movie until it was ready. Gunn said people have become beholden to release dates, to getting movies made no matter what. I'm a writer at my heart, and we're not going to be making movies before their time and before a screenplay is finished. Gunn said that even films with front-loaded release dates will be pushed down the calendar if the script is not ready prior to production, and I love that idea. To that end, as I said at the beginning of the video, only Superman Legacy has a release date so far. Nothing else does, and that's the way it's going to stay until all scripts are solid, so says James Gunn, and I am here for that. The other thing I'm really excited about is Gunn and Safran are leaning into Elseworlds, which are basically stories that are told outside of the DC universe continuity. They do the same thing in comics. If it's not part of this of the main continuity, they put it and label it as DC Elseworlds, and I love that. The Joker films are going to be Elseworlds. The Batman, Robert Pattinson, Matt Reeves movie is going to be Elseworlds. And anything that doesn't fit into the main continuity will be labeled as Elseworlds. And I love that. It makes perfect sense. I hope that it makes perfect sense to the general audience. And I'm here for it, which means that so many more stories can be told that are outside of the main continuity. And that's it. I'm really, really, really optimistic about all this. I haven't been this optimistic about DC in almost 10 years when the Trinity made their big screen debut. They have a really, really good plan in place. So because of that, because I'm so optimistic, because I'm so hopeful, I'm giving this 5 butter pumps. That's right, 5 butter pumps. I really do have hope that everything is going to turn out well, and I'm really excited about the lineup that they have, and I believe in them, and let's see what happens. So now I turn it over to you. What do you think? Are you excited about the new lineup? How many butter pumps would you give it? I want to hear all about it. Sound off in the comments down below. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.